So, Matheson, I can't believe it's been 8 years since killing Reagan. I came down to Georgia where they shot it. And I have to say, you were not a Hollywood pinhead. You were a regular guy. And we had a nice conversation, and I'm glad you wrote this book. And the reason I'm glad you wrote it is because you made it on your own. And that's what I respect. You're not from the Barrymore family, and you're not a cousin of Steven Spielberg, even though you know him. You kind of just made it, and it was very interesting to read the book. Again, it is "Damn Glad to Meet You," which is a line from Animal House. So let's begin with Animal House. When you guys were shooting this, a lot of young talent in the movie. Did you have any idea it was going to become iconic?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we knew it was a new kind of comedy and it was different. It was comedy for young people by young people, but we had no hint other than the fact that John Belushi was in it, and that was a plus. But it just began to feel better and better and steamroll as the more we shot and went along with it. It just felt better and better. And I must say, but the studio hated it. They didn't want to make it. They didn't want any part of it, and they kept penny pinching. And the producers Ivan Reitman and the director John Landis did everything they can and could to get around those blockades and get the picture made.
Okay, so it then becomes the baby boomer memory. I think that's the best way to describe it. And anybody over the age of 60 in this country, Animal House, and even the younger people know it now because it's on TV and this and that. But it's now in the age of woke, a little controversial. And
Oh yeah.
I think about the Otis, my man scene in the bar when, which is hilarious. But boy, I don't know if you could make that now.
Oh, you know what? You put your finger right on it. And the studio demanded that they cut that
Really?
because they said, "Oh, there's going to be riots. There's going to be race riots, and black audiences will tear up theaters, and it's going to be you can't do that. It's racist." And the junior executives who believed in the movie um, got hold of Richard Pryor, who was under contract at the studio at the time, and said, "Richard, do us a favor. Let us know if this is offensive. If it is, we'll take it out." And Pryor looks at it, and then they took him up to the Ned Tannen, the head of the studio, and he goes, "Let me just tell you, you white people are crazy. This is funny. Leave it in because it's making fun of the white privileged kids, thinking how cool they are."
Of
And going
course.
into a black nightclub, and it's so that was lampoon. They're made fun
Right.
of both sides of that scene. And but you're right. You're absolutely right. To today's audiences, they'd be. I don't know if they quite understand the humor.
No, I think if you screen that movie at Harvard, you'd have to give the kids a day off to recover the next day. They couldn't they couldn't go to class. They need
They'd
safe
be
space.
triggered.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's hurt the movie industry, that wokeism that has enveloped Hollywood. I think people,
Yeah.
Mel Brooks, a good example. A lot of his movies, you could not make them today or be ostracized. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that was the lampoon. They'd always go right up to the edge and then over it. And
Right.
the bigger the issue, they'd confront it and piss everybody off.
Well, the best Lampoon cover ever is the guy holding the dog saying, if you don't buy
Oh
this
my God.
magazine, we're going to kill the dog. I mean, it was hilarious. And
Oh yeah.
again, but the culture of America, in my opinion, and you know me, I mean, I don't reflect what you write or anybody else, but I think that this woke stuff has really damaged Hollywood. Now, in your world out there. You're in West Wing, and I'm a whole bunch of people. You were in 1941 with Spielberg directed that.
Sure.
It's a liberal culture, all right, right?
I think all the arts, I mean, most parts of the arts are liberal minded because it draws people from countercultures and people that are ostracized by mainstream society, and they hide out in the arts or they seek solace in the arts, and that's I think one of the reasons why it tends to be more liberal. But yeah, not to the exclusion of all points of view, as you point out. I mean, look at the movie we made. I mean, it was a great movie. Rod Lurie, wonderful director, Killing Reagan, and it was more about a love story and about a man who was emotionally damaged, Hinckley, and a love story between Nancy and Ronnie, and politics was not the central theme of it, but it was part of it, and it
Right.
was, it was a wonderful film, wonderful book, must
What
say.
I liked about it, and as the executive producer, I had to okay everything, and you were easy to okay. But I said
Thank
Cynthia
you.
Nixon, who played number one, hates me, but that's all right. I don't, if I were not to work with anybody who didn't hate me, I wouldn't have anybody to work with. So I said, yeah, Cynthia's a really good actress, Sex in the City, and he said, hey, she hates me, but she played Nancy Reagan, who is no liberal, and Cynthia, of course, is. Uh, Really down. I mean, you guys are so professional,
Yeah.
and it worked great. No
Oh yeah.
angst at all. I don't think.
No, we never discussed that. We never felt that. We just dealt with the humanity of Nancy and Ronnie, and that was the core thing that we went after and we did, you know. And I mean, she's such a good actor. Mike Nichols had her in two plays on Broadway at the same time. She did the first act in one play and then ran down the street and did the second act in another play. Um, and no, I don't think anyone's ever done that before or
Right.
since.
In the book, again, damn glad to meet you. Which, if you know anything about Animal House, a great line in it. You get into John Belushi, who everybody remembers. I mean, he a transcendent star, died in his early 30s from excess. Did you know when you were working with him? I know he was zipping back and forth between Saturday Night Live, and you guys are out in
Right.
Oregon shooting a film. Did anybody develop a rapport with him, or was he just kind of a ghost that went in and left?
No, he was so open and like many improv actors, which and the credo of an improv actor is yes, you're my partner. We're all in the same team. You say something, I'll build on that. You say, look at that wall. Well, yeah, how high? How are we going to get over it? So, and he was very gracious, and it was my first comedy, and he was so supportive and giving to me, and I became friends with him and would go visit him in New York and when he was doing Saturday Night Live. And then we worked again on 1941, but I could see the ravages
Yeah.
that the industry had taken on him, I had the drugs, the partying and that kind of thing. And everyone wanted to have fun with John, that was,
Why didn't
and you
you?
couldn't avoid it.
Why didn't you fall into that trap? I mean, you did a little bit in the book. You describe it, but you really didn't let it debilitate you. Why?
You know, I was lucky enough to start as a kid actor. And so I worked with people that worked in vaudeville which was tough. And you worked 3 to 5 shows a day, and you had to bring it to every show, and you had to prepare, and Lucille Ball taught me that, and Jackie Gleason, the great one, he taught me that, and really one of the big influences in my life that sort of got my head out of my butt was Kurt Russell, who is a wonderful actor, and it was a professional baseball player. And
Yeah,
he taught me that acting and show business it's like professional sports. You're gonna hit a home run one day. You're gonna strike out 3 times one day. Don't get your head too big about any one thing. Don't get it in your head about it. You're striking out. Just keep going. And discipline, discipline, discipline. And I think maybe that's what sort of saved me. I never played around when I was working between shows, maybe, but that was my own time.
yeah. Well, we appreciate it. It's good to see you again, Tim, and thanks a lot for being in
Great to
Killing
see
Reagan.
you,
That was
Bill.
one of the highlights of my movie career.
I
And the
love
book,
that part. I love playing him.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
The book is Damn Glad to Meet You. You can get it anywhere, and I'll be out chasing Matheson around someday when he least expects it. So we'll see you
Good.
soon. Right.
Thank you, Bill. Great to see you.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X. Look for @Bill O'Reilly.